Well, good afternoon. We have a dear friend and colleague, Amy Amirault, with us today, and Amy has quite a interesting story to share. Uh, has done a myriad of things in her life, and I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yay! Awesome. No, we'll have fun. So, Amy, what sticks out of my mind about you when we first met several years ago is you were talking about reptiles, and I was kind of getting freaked out because I like, it's not that I don't like different non dogs and non cats, but reptiles kind of give me the squigglies. So, why don't
Not
you
for everyone.
Not for everyone.
No.
No, yeah, and we'll get into because you had them as pets, and I don't know if you still do, but I know
No.
you did. Tell us a little bit about what you do right now. I know you got like two different career paths going on, but
I do.
tell us a little bit about the animal hospital because I think people will want to hear um, your story there. So you currently work at
I currently work at Saugus Animal Hospital. I'm a CVT and fear free certified practitioner, which is CVT is akin to like a registered nurse in humans, but it's the animal side of it.
So you're like a nurse for animals.
Yes.
How long have you been doing that?
I have been doing that for 21 years at the same place.
21 years at the same
21
place?
years at Saugus Animal Hospital.
Longevity.
Exactly. Yep. And it started out, I was a client there. Um, I had some reptiles. I had a handful, and
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You had reptiles as pets,
yes,
right? That's what I was doing.
yes, and
So
I was. Oh, go ahead.
no, no. So you had reptiles as pets,
Yes,
and what'd you do? Bring them to the
yeah,
animal
yeah,
hospital?
just for their well care if they had any problems.
How big were
Um,
these reptiles, and what kind of reptiles are
uh,
we talking about?
so I'll kind of rewind a little bit. So
Yeah.
at that time, I was actually working at Northeast Animal Shelter. It was I was mid-20s maybe,
Yep.
about 26, and, I had not had an interest in reptiles specifically. I was always kind of an animal person, but we had a dog growing up. We had, aquariums and stuff. But then my early 20s, doesn't this always happen? I was with a boyfriend who was a reptile enthusiast, and he convinced me to get some of these creatures together, and then when we split,
Ooh,
he went to a place where he couldn't keep them. So,
he
um,
couldn't keep them.
he couldn't keep them, so I
What
decided I
kind of,
would.
again, reptiles are we
So,
talking about?
we had ball pythons,
Oh,
we had
no. Oh, no.
um, when I was on my own with them, I had 2 green iguanas,
How
and,
big?
so they start out, like, tiny, like 10 grams,
As
teeny
babies? Like,
tiny
yeah.
baby. Yes, I'm ashamed to admit I bought them at a pet store,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
this is a long time ago. Um And so they start out 10 grams. My female, her name was, so you can't tell what sex they are right away. My female was named Stone Cold Steve Austin. We changed her name to Stevie, like Stevie Nicks.
Like the
And
wrestler, and then you went to the
yes.
musician. Okay.
Yeah. So she was about, so most of their size, their length is tail. So she was about maybe just about a foot and a
What?
half long, about this big around her belly.
Oh,
And with
oh.
her tail, she was probably like 3.5 feet. Um,
And you keep them in a cage?
they had special enclosures, reptariums, because they require certain kinds of heat, and ultraviolet light and humidity.
Reptarian.
They have very specific requirements, and it's really a lot of work. It's a lot more work than, say, a cat.
Or fish.
Yeah, even fish. And then my male, he lived a long time. Um, Also was named as a baby. His name was Chloe, and once we discovered he was a male, he already was responsive to his name, so we just stuck with it.
You stuck with
Um,
Chloe.
yes,
Oh,
and he
poor
was
guy.
about got his body size without his tail was about like a cat. He was about 15 pounds, about this big around, and full length he was about 6 feet.
Did he bite?
Uh, they could. He was more with claws, but they're really not great social animals. They're not really good pets. I would never recommend someone get one as a pet now. Knowing what I know now, it's a lot of work. They have a lot of nutritional requirements that are difficult to do, a lot of husbandry requirements that are difficult, and they're typically not that social. I'm sure there are some that are, but
All right. So you br
yeah. So
you're
I had
at
those
you
2.
you have
Oh, there's more.
those two snake.
And
Yeah,
I had a leopard gecko.
a
So
leopard
that's kind
gecko.
of a little one, like about 6 to 8 inches long.
What is that?
Oh, they're beautiful. Um, I believe they're from
Beautiful.
Australia. Yeah, they have a neat pattern. They're called leopard gecko because they tend to be spotted. So they tend
All
to have
right.
like a yellow body with dark spots. Although there's all different. If you're into reptiles, you can get all different patterns. They breed them all different ways.
All
So you
right.
can get one that's like plain white or pink or stripes, all different things. But mine, her name was Sheila. She was
Sheila.
yellow with spots and then a striped tail.
All right.
And then I had Agro, who was a crocodile gecko. Those guys, they're tiny. He was about 2 inches long,
Mhm.
but mean. Every
Mean.
time you tried to bite him, he tried to touch him, he'd bite you. Um, and even he made like a little noise, like when he would
Oh,
bite you.
get out. All
He
right.
was
All
the
right.
tiniest
Stop, stop,
thing.
stop.
It
Let's
was
go back.
funny.
You're into the so you bring these
Yep.
reptiles to the animal
Yep.
hospital, and that leads to you getting a job at the animal
Yes.
hospital? How?
Yes. I think I was so the only one I mentioned. I also had a Chinese water dragon, Buttercup, and then I had a bearded dragon named Logan, and I was with one of those two at an appointment at my veterinarian's office. So I was Saugus Animal Hospital, and so I was seeing Dr. Binder, who was the owner at that time. He was the only doctor that saw reptiles. So um, I had been seeing him for a couple of years with different animals, and he said, "Hey, I'm looking for someone who to join our staff who's comfortable handling reptiles. Like, what are you up to right now? Would you be interested in thinking about taking a job here, entry level?"
How old were you?
I was 26, and
So did you I know we talked before about this. Did you go to college? Were you out of college? Like what was your did you go to like no, you said you went to college. So
so
tell me about how
I did, but not for this. So I can tell you kind of the progression of things. Try to make sure I get back to where we were. So
oh no, I'll remind you because I'm he's asking you if you want to work there,
yes,
right? And I'm just trying to
yes.
figure out were you not working at the time or were you in school, out of school, whatever.
So at that time, I was working full time at Northeast Animal Shelter in Salem,
Okay.
which was an interesting job. It was I was getting close to burnout with it because there's just a lot of
Yeah.
when you're working in the shelter, you don't have a lot of resources, and a lot of it is people kind of putting a responsibility on the shelter that sometimes we would come in the morning and we would find in the parking lot we'd find like a box with cats in it or
Oh
something,
no.
and it was like, well, this is an adult cat. We know nothing about it. And we have to try to figure out how to get it, make sure it's healthy, get
So
it
people would
adopted.
just leave the
Yeah.
animals there.
Yeah. Or they'd call the same day and be like, we're moving tomorrow. We need to get rid of our dog. And
Oh,
then on the adoption end of it, it was tricky because you have to vet people. And, people don't like feeling like they're being interrogated. So it was always like, to if you wanted to adopt an animal, you had to show either proof that you owned your home or we had to get in touch with the landlord to make sure that this cat or dog wasn't going to be coming back 2 weeks later because you didn't have permission and
oh, that's
various things.
sad. That's
So it's
sad.
yeah, working in a shelter, it's tricky. I learned a lot, and that was kind of it was kind of part of the path to getting into vet med. But originally, I went to Saugus High School. I was raised in
You were a
Saugus my whole life.
sachem.
Sachem, yes.
Sachem. Sorry.
But I didn't play
I
any
grew up in
sports.
Winthrop, and it was always that Northeast Conference. You know, it was Winthrop Vikings and the Saugus Sachems were the
Yeah.
same thing. Okay,
I didn't play any sports though. I was in ninth and 10th grade. I was in color guard
okay.
with the band
Oh, that's
with the
big
big
now.
flags.
That's
Yeah.
big now, though.
Yeah. So I did that for 2 years. And then and I was in chorus, believe it or not. I sing. Um and we
What'd you
would
do
sing
after
stuff.
high school?
After high school, I went to Bradford College, which is no longer there. So
Bradford, Mass.
Bradford, Mass. Yep, it's kind of a community within Haverhill, right in
Okay.
that
Yeah,
area.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm familiar. Yeah.
So it was a small school. We had less than 700 students total. And I went there I liked the campus. I liked the small school feel of it. There was one other person from my high school that went there.
Okay.
Um,
And how long were you there?
so I was there only for 3 semesters. What happened was a couple of things kind of fell into place at the same time. So I was in the teaching program, and to be in the teaching program, you had to do a double major basically. So you had to do teaching with something else.
Yep.
Um, And so I double majored teaching and psychology, which I enjoyed. I
I was a
enjoyed,
psych major in
yeah,
college.
I enjoyed my psychology classes in high school. Um, and it was the thing that I thought I wanted to do. Um, and kind of some things were happening as I was learning in the teaching program. More and more, I was getting this thought like, I'm not sure this is exactly what I want to do. I don't know if I want to be going home and correcting papers and doing lesson plans and then have all of that stuff and then come back the next
So you
day.
started questioning. So this is really interesting, and a lot of the guests on the show, we talk about like what's that black belt switch, right?
Right?
And you understand what that means as a longtime martial artist too. Is there's a something happens in our lives, whether it be an event or a family issue or whatever, that becomes like that switch of like, well, I don't know if this is what I want to do because what resonates all the time, and I say this on every single show, is that you're much younger. So, but growing up, for me and for most, kind of was a roadmap for us as far as you go to grammar school, you go to high school. Some people get a job right out of high school, or some go on to college. Then, you meet someone, you may get married, then you have a white picket fence, then you have a
Right.
kid, two kids and a dog, then you
Yeah.
stay in the same job for the rest of your life, then you retire, collect your pension, and you die. Right? That was like the roadmap.
Yeah.
So your initial roadmap sounds like you wanted to be a teacher, which a lot
I
of people,
did.
yeah.
I did, and I obviously, I still have that teaching element
Yep, we're
to
gonna get
me,
into that, yeah.
but just in a different way, and it was I think also growing up so my parents married a year after they graduated high school, always having young parents is
Right
pretty
after high
awesome.
school.
Yeah, a year after high school.
Holy
Yep,
cow.
at 1975, so they've been together almost 51 years now.
Whoa,
Yeah.
congratulations.
And so, yeah, my dad, right out of high school, he got a job with Raytheon and worked there his entire career until he was a sheet metal worker
There
and
you go.
worked up the ranks his entire career,
Yep.
retired 2020. My mom, she had actually wanted to be a teacher, but getting married young. And then my older brother was coming along pretty quickly. And mom was like, now we're married. We need to be able to afford to live on our own. What can I do that's kind of a quicker way to get into a career making some money? And I don't know where she got this advice, but she was told that you could go into nursing. And
Nursing,
yeah. So she went to nursing school. It was a 2 or 3 year program. So
like at a hospital or
yeah, Lynn Hospital used to have a school of nursing. So she
yes, I
went to,
remember, okay.
yep. So she was there. She was actually her last year was when my brother was born. 1977. She graduated from Lynn Hospital School of Nursing, and she worked as a nurse for many, many years. A thing that stuck out with me, she brilliant, wonderful, detail oriented. She was a great nurse, but she didn't love it,
She
especially
didn't love it.
yeah. Once I got to be kind of like middle school, high school, I realized like it was a great career, but she didn't love it. And
Interesting.
yeah, so anytime like she'd be getting ready for work and sometimes they'd know that they might have a chance to have PTO and someone would call and she'd say, "Okay, if I'm in the shower and someone calls and asks if I want to take PTO today, you say yes or you go get me." And I was like,
Ah,
she doesn't love this anymore. Maybe at one point she did, but it kind of always stuck in my head like I don't want to be stuck in a place where I'm not loving it. I'm not doing what I
whoa,
have a
all right, let
passion
me
for.
stop you there for a second because that is exactly what, um that's the pivot point. That's the switch. Or that's the, you know, so many people will say, and myself included, your childhood or your parents or a specific mentor or a teacher or a professor, there's always someone in our lives that kind of made that huge impact. Um, Obviously, your parents, wonderful people, and your mother's story, so to speak, resonated with you as a
Yeah.
young girl or a young woman growing up. So you wanted to be a teacher, and then you
And
went to
then so I went to
school,
Bradford College, right? So
and what changed?
thing that changed, I was starting to have this feeling like I'm not sure about this. And then kind of right around the same time, two things happened. One was there was an announcement that Bradford College was going to be closing,
Closing.
and so we would make it to graduation, but we were going to be class of 2000, and they were going to close immediately after that. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so I'm in a legitimate school right now, but what happens after they close? Is this going to make it hard for me to get a job down the line? Is this going to be, am I going to be able to access my records? Are people going to say, well, I've never heard of your college? So I had that kind of in the back of my mind. But then the other thing that was actually bigger for me, so during this time, I'm sure we'll talk about the martial arts journey, but during this time,
Absolutely.
as a teenager, was when I really, really became involved in the martial arts to the point that my school was about an hour away from home. And as I said, I had one kid from Saugus that
Went to Bradford.
went to Bradford with me. So Mike Ruggiero, he was in a band, and I was taking martial arts classes. So every Monday night and every Wednesday night after class, after our school classes were done, we would drive back to Saugus. He'd go practice with the band. I'd go take class. We'd go to our houses, eat dinner,
Come back,
get back
be
together,
together, and
drive
go
back to
back to
school. So we
school.
did this twice a week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then on the weekend, I would come home as well. I was still working part-time. I had a job at Au Bon Pain, the French bakery cafe in the
Oh,
Square One
yeah,
Mall.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was a baker there, um, baker and just a
So you were doing many
customer service.
things, but what?
And yeah, so I'd come home on the weekend and then I'd go to class, and sometimes I'd compete in tournaments, things like that, and work a shift at Aubon Pan and go back to school. So I get about 3 semesters in, and then um, I don't know if anyone remembers this. 1998 was when on the world stage something interesting happened, which was that the U.S. Olympic Committee. No, I should say the kind of International Olympic Committee. Forgive me if I call it the wrong thing. They announced that Taekwondo was going to be uh, released as a full medal, that's not the right word, a full medal sport
Yeah,
in
not
the
like a
2000 games,
exhibition or
right?
something.
Exactly. It was an exhibition sport. So 2000 games in Sydney, Australia, Taekwondo was going to be full medal. And there was a big buzz about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm 18, 19 years old at this point. I should go for this.
How long were you doing martial arts at that point?
So I had started, I had a gap. So I started when I was 8 years old. Um, and there's a funny story
Oh, I
about that
remember
too.
that picture. You
Yeah.
post it all the time. I see that
Yeah,
picture. Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
we have kind of the way that we found, so the Tiger Institute, not only is it the school that I own and run now, I started there with Shirley Russell was my teacher,
Yep.
someone named Shirley Russell. Um, we found the school through stranger danger, is what I like to tell people. My brother wanted to do karate because it was 1987, and who didn't? And
Oh God, yeah.
so mom's driving down the street one day and she just sees a kid with a Tiger Institute jacket on, pulls over and starts talking to him, asking him questions about it. And of course, now I'm cringing, like, oh my God, just pull over and talk to a child. But that was how we found the school. And at that time, uh, Subman Russell was teaching out of a dance school. She was renting time
In
there.
Saugus.
Charlena's School of Dance, yep, on Lincoln Ave in Saugus. And I remember my brother was allowed to join first, and we
Oh,
would
of
go to pick him
course.
up.
The
We'd go to
boy.
pick him up, and it was so old school. She was so creative. I remember getting there early one time and they were doing some kicking drills, but she didn't have, we didn't have century targets and all the stuff we have now. Those kids were holding laundry detergent bottles and the
Love
other
it.
kids were
I
kicking
love
them.
it. Old school.
Yep,
Old
I remember
school.
the sound, that boom, that hollow laundry detergent bottle sound.
I
I
love
was
it.
like, that's so cool. I want to do that.
Any girls in the class then?
Yes. Yep. By the time I joined, it was about 6 months later. Um, we were in a different location, but yeah, there were some girls that were older than me, and that was the thing I thought was the coolest. I was 8 years old, and there were a couple of like teenage girls or even middle school girls, and I just thought they were the coolest, and I wanted to be just like them. Um,
Where was the how did the gap come about? So that was when you were 8, 9.
Yeah, so I trained for about 2 years. I had my green belt, and it was just as I was getting ready to start middle school. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I think that I thought that middle school was going to be harder than it ended up being. There's going to be a lot of homework, and at that time, I just didn't have the passion like I have now. And I
For
remember
the martial
yeah,
arts, you
martial
mean?
arts, yeah. Um, and I remember I said, I don't think I want to do this right now. I want to take a break. And so I was allowed to, but of course I had to finish out the time we paid for. And my parents said to me, okay, you can do this, but you have to go and tell your teacher. that you're gonna stop.
Good parents.
And you know what? I really, really wish people still would do that because I had to suck it up, but I had to go and tell her. And I thought at that time that that was difficult for me, but now being on the other end of it, it is kind of the opposite. Now I feel for her so much like, man, imagine kids
So let
comes
me
up to you and they say that they don't want to do it anymore.
I want to. All right. So two things right now. I eventually we'll get back to the to
Yeah,
that switch,
of
but
course.
so you mentioned about your parents instilled in you because you're the one that wanted to stop to go up. What do you think's going on? Because we both run martial arts schools, and whether it's martial arts schools or whatever, but we come in contact with tons and tons of kids and tons of parents. I feel like kids are telling the parents what to do now, as opposed to the parents telling the kids what to do. Or not even telling, but the kids are ruling. Like,
Yeah, and
what's going on?
I feel like parents today, out of love, of course, they're trying to protect their kids from having to be feel uncomfortable, right? To feel scared or embarrassed or anything like that. And it comes from a good place, but what does it do for that kid,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, we talk about this all the time. You and I have talked about it. I talk about this on the show. I talk about when I teach my black belts all the time. Is that comfortable is okay, right? And whether it's in work, whether it's in family, whether it's
Hmm.
in relationships, whether whatever. And there's nothing wrong with it because that I think is our natural program, just like our roadmap
Sure.
is to feel comfortable,
Yeah,
right? But growth happens when we feel uncomfortable,
exactly.
as scared as we are. And I think, I mean, you know who Kathy Long is, the world kickboxing phenom. And she
Yeah,
was
she's
up here
amazing.
recently and we had her on the show. And, she said fear was her motivator. And I
Hmm.
looked at her and I went, what? Right? Because that uncomfortableness, that fear, and other guests have said they embrace fear because it's not the enemy. Um, that's when growth happens.
100%.
So, how did we go from your parents saying, "Hey, Amy, you want to stop? You go tell the teacher,"
Hmm.
to, oh, and again, I know it comes from a good place. I know that our natural instinct is to protect our children, but is that really protecting them? Is that really helping them? What's going on?
Yeah, like I said, I think it comes from a good place. It comes from
No,
a
I
place of love.
agree.
I don't know. I don't know exactly how
Do you
things
feel the
have
same way
shifted,
though? Do
but
you see
but
it?
I do. I do, and I think that's kind of where we're also in that society where if someone, you see ghosting, people don't want
If you
to
see what?
answer ghosting. Someone,
Oh,
someone wants to have a difficult conversation with you, they text you and you just don't answer, or
well, now that brings up a whole
when
other thing which
or
continues to resonate on every show is social media,
yeah,
is phones, is electronic devices.
yeah,
I look in the lobby a lot of times in one of my locations and all the kids, and again, I know
yeah,
it's comes from a good place and I know parents are like running, sometimes there's single parents or even conventional
of
parents or
course.
what non-conventional, whatever. It doesn't matter, but they're everything we're running in 1,000 different places and they're dropping
Right,
off one to pick up another. And then the others are sitting there,
right.
2, 3, 4 years old. No one's reading a book anymore.
Right, the attention span isn't there, and the social skills are not
So where do you
not
think,
the
so what do you
same.
think about social media for kids?
Well, I think it has its place. There's a lot of good on social media, but of course there's a lot of stuff that, they prey on children. There's a lot of different ways to
Difficult to regulate too, right?
absolutely, right? How are you gonna, you have your kid looking at a tablet unless you're looking right over his or her shoulder, you're not gonna see what they're doing. There have been different things where, kids have been enticed to do things that are dangerous by someone that they don't know on TikTok or Facebook or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary. And it has taken out that piece of the real connection. And we also see ghosting like with our students, right? You'll have a student, they're taking class, everything's going fine, then they don't come for a week. You call them,
Ghosting. Where did that
right?
term come from?
I guess people just disappear. You don't know what
They
happened to
disappear
them,
like a
right?
ghost, right?
Right? And it happens with your students. It happens, with dating. It happens with friends. It happens, people that
It's
you
easy, right?
it
But
is.
see
They
it
don't have to have that conversation.
they
They just
don't. They don't have to
they
have
just
confrontation that your
and you never
parents
know what happened.
like what happened. But what
Why'd you
about the
stop?
other thing about kids texting or people texting, right? It's the easy way out.
It
Like you
is.
said, whether it's a
100%.
relationship, whether it's, oh, I'm not coming into work today, whether it's, could be anything going on in their lives. And, you know, I say this all the time to kids, and I've said it numerous times to my own kids when they were younger, is like, there's no human interaction. There's no conversation. People are not developing, our kids are not developing those life skills, which you and I preach every single day
Mhm.
in our studios. Um, it's just, I don't know. And again, technology is great. We could talk
Oh,
about it the whole
yes, for
show.
sure.
I know you and I use it. We got this
Yeah.
whole AI boom going now. We could spend a whole show talking about it, but it always comes up because it's a balance, right?
It
Is
is.
how do we balance the benefits of that technology, especially with the younger
Of
kids, to
course.
be useful, helpful, as opposed to, oh, go over there in the corner and go on your phone or
Yeah.
whatever. And then if you don't have that phone or smartphone, and oh, my parents won't give it to me, then they're ostracized and left out because everybody's
Right. Right, everyone's got it.
communicating
Mhm.
by
And
text.
yeah, and texting is a good thing. It's kind of interesting. I found out within the last few years that texting was originally created for the deaf community. Makes sense. Um, and I love texting. I think it's nice. I can send you a message now. You're teaching a student, and then 2 hours from now, when you're done, you can see it. And neither one of us has interrupted the other, right? You text me back, I'm teaching, I'm, driving,
Yeah, i
whatever.
i agree
I
with
think
you. I
it's a
think in
really
its
great thing.
right place,
But
yes, but
if we're sitting here across from the table texting each other and texting other people, that's where it becomes
yeah, and
a
I'm a
problem.
huge proponent of being present. I'm a huge
Yeah.
proponent of being like, if I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you. I'm not
Mhm.
hearing bing, boom, boom, all
Yeah.
notifications and stuff. But
Yeah.
we'll get back to that at another
Yeah.
time.
I know
So,
we kind of went off on a tangent.
no, but that's okay. But
It's
it's
okay.
okay. So you took your hiatus. You
Oh,
went to
yes.
call. You were
Yes.
working.
So,
The college
yep.
was going to close, but it sounds
Yes.
like to me in your heart, um, you didn't want to be a teacher,
I
and
felt
you
like
didn't
it was like, this is the opportunity. So I found out the college was going to close. And also, I found out this big news about Taekwondo becoming an Olympic
an
sport.
Olympic
Um,
sport.
so
You focused on that.
I did. So came back. I was still working. I went back to full time at Aubon Pan. So the thing that I always have done with any job that I've worked, whether I consider it a job just for money or a career, is that ever since my teenage years, I've prioritized. I need to be able to have a schedule so that I can train. So when I was with my instructor until her passing in 2008. Up till that point, no matter where I worked, it was, I need to be out by this time on these days so that I can go to class, because it was a priority for me. And I knew, I've seen lots of people as they became college students, working adults, that's when they stopped training. And that was the point that I was probably 15, 16 when I realized that I had a passion for the martial arts.
It's all
It
about the
was
passion because
yeah.
my roommate at the time at college, I went to Boston College, and I used to drive. I lived there off campus, and I used to drive back to Everett, Mass, where I was training
Yeah.
twice a week
Yep.
and on Saturdays. Never skipped a beat. That's really a passion.
Yeah.
And do you think like today, with sports or activities. Like I find that kids too, they're on like 9 different teams. You got the town team, you got a select team, you got the
Mhm.
double triple A team, and things are not going per season. They're going all year round.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I mean, you and I had that passion, but we're all, I'm older, much older than you are, but kids of today, they're doing 100 different things.
They are.
Do you think that impacts, the passion for one thing versus another, or
I think it's great that they have these opportunities, but I also think that it really can set them up for burnout.
burnout?
Right? You have, someone playing soccer all year
Yeah,
round,
no,
or,
I've seen it.
you know,
I've seen it.
baseball all year round with very little break. Um, and a lot of kids will thrive in that. Some if you have the passion for it and it's all you want, absolutely. So I know, like I said, I had a break of about 4 years between when I was doing martial arts and then I came back to it. And I remember what drew me back always was my instructor. When I first came back to it, I wasn't sure that it was the thing I wanted to do, but I would walk by the school and I would pop in and say hi, and I'd be like, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back. And this went on for probably about a year or so. And then once I finally got my foot back in the door, once I decided I didn't want to do color guard anymore, my junior year of high school, once I started back up with it, that was when I realized like this is my thing. This is a thing that I can do that I'm not affected. My progress is not affected by anyone else. I can, it as a person in high school and still today, kind of a nerd. I was the girl with the big glasses and the long hair and very quiet. And that was a place that like I could really shine there. And I had a lot of control over what I did and how I progressed um and it just was also being an identical twin. A lot of times people would just say,
Mm.
"Oh, the twins, and we do the same things and we did Girl Scouts together and soccer together and this and that." And we have a lot of the same even to this day, we have a lot of the same friends. But it was the thing that I did that was different, so that was attractive to me and I felt like this was a place that I could just be more myself and less
Your
the
own
twins.
identity, right?
Yeah.
So two things
Yeah.
for you. It sounds like your instructor was a huge role model for you.
Yes.
What was it about her that affected you, changed you, thought, physical? I'm not talking, yeah, we all know the rigors of martial arts
Sure.
training, but what was it about her that made you stop in and say hi? That, what was that?
She was a person that no matter what, she always you'd hear her say the door's always open, and it truly was. You could walk in anytime, no matter who you were, how long you'd been gone, and you always would feel welcome. You never would feel like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" Um, and she was just like that with everybody. She was one of those people. She always used to say, "You're like the refrigerator door, and all the magnets stick to you." She was that person.
I
Everybody that
love
met
that
her
analogy. I love that analogy.
everyone just loved her. She was, gosh, she was just such a personality. And I always say, God, I wish I had her personality because, she was great at meeting people. She was great at just kind of putting herself right out there, and everybody knew her. Everybody loved her. She was loud. She was a big personality. Um, and it just was, you know she was like family to me. I was very thankful and grateful that I had a great family life. I had a great home
Yeah,
life,
now to have another
but
person.
a lot of people didn't, and she was like their person.
I
And so
love that.
she was like my other person.
I love it.
And yeah, as a teenager too, sometimes you have things that you want to talk to a trusted adult about that you
Yeah.
don't necessarily want to tell your parents.
Exactly, and you
um
have this other trusted, like you said, trusted adult. I think
yeah.
that, what continues to resonate too, is like, at the end of the day, we're human beings,
Yep.
and we wanna be, as much as whether it be martial arts or something else, it could be an individual thing. I mentioned to you about having your own identity and all that, but at the same time, the beauty of this is that you belong, and you use the word family. You
Mhm.
belong to like an extended family, a community, a tribe that I use now. We're humans. We want to belong in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. And we see people taking that wrong path all the time because
Sure.
of not having that opportunity or opportunities, to thrive in those community environments,
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Oh
Does
yeah.
sound like she was a wonderful, wonderful person, and certainly a big influence on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So
She was amazing.
what did you do? So Bradford closes again. I keep on going that. You
Oh
keep
yeah.
on going back to
Yep.
martial arts, which I love. Um, so we
Yep.
always get thrown back into the martial arts.
Always.
It's,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
because it's a
Because
part of our lives, right?
yeah.
So then
So
you're not
then
a teacher. So
so then
you're at
I
the vet. Oh,
so
yeah. Go back to the vet for a second,
okay.
because with these 90
So
reptiles that you had, you're at the vet. He offers was it
well,
a veterinarian that offered you the?
yeah. So in between there, we kind of touched upon the Olympics thing. That was
Yep.
probably about a year of my life. I spent a good bit of time
Training.
training, fundraising, and I went to this really cool event they had. Um, at what's the name of it? Adelphi University, I think is the name of it.
Philadelphia.
And it was in New York, and
Oh yeah.
it was for Olympic hopefuls, and it was
See how you went back
a full
from
week.
veterinary hospital
Oh
to,
no, this is
to
before that.
martial arts again? No,
I
no,
just
I
went
know
to
you
train
want to
it. It
fill
was
in the gaps. I get it.
fill
I
in the
get it.
gaps. Yeah, so I did that. That was like 1998, 99. That was, I don't remember exactly when that happened. I think it was summer of 98. We went to that, and
What was that like?
that was an amazing experience. It
Was it
also
like training, like trials? What
it
was it?
was a week of training. We were just housed in dorms, and they had members of the Olympic team at that time and people who were coaching and working with the Olympic team. Um, and it was it was hard. It was tons of work. I remember some of the drills we did there. I remember kind of on the last day, we're in this parking lot, and they had us go down into like a low squat, like your hips by your heels, like a little frog. And we are in this parking lot with the sun beating down, middle of July, and we are just bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. And they said, "Okay, here's the drill. We keep going until there's nobody left." And I remember just
Oh, jeez.
bouncing on my balls of my feet in this parking lot for
In the middle of the
probably
summer.
yeah,
How
so we
old were
were
you?
I was 19, and I would say I was
All females or males and
males
females?
and females. I was kind of middle of the ages. There were some younger kids that were like 12 and 13, and then there were plenty of adults. I would say it was mostly black belts. I had my first degree at that time. Um, and it was just so interesting, and I nobody else that I knew was there. Um,
So you knew
so
one. You're
didn't know
there
anyone.
overnight.
I
y-
was there for a week,
A week.
and the thing that's very cool that I have to say because it's the one thing that I have from that that's kind of a physical thing. If you go in my school, I have a paddle target that's like a mint green color, and it is a prototype from Century that was given to all the coaches um, from at that camp. So they hadn't hit market yet. It was all just prototype
Oh,
kind of
okay.
targets.
Before it was
And
released.
yeah, so when I was at that camp, if anyone knows this name, Juan Moreno, I believe he's still with the Olympic Taekwondo now. And we're talking almost 30 years later. So he was one of the coaches. And on the last day, each of them was given one of these paddle targets to give to one of the students um, who they thought really had not necessarily been the most excellent performance, but who had really put their heart into it and really worked hard and tried hard. And so Juan Moreno gave me that target in 1998. I still have it to this day.
Awesome. I didn't know
And
that.
we
That's
never went
great.
to market looking exactly this way. So it's I do
It's a
still use it.
special
Yes,
edition.
yes, it's a special edition. And for years I didn't use it. And then I was like, this is silly. So even just last night in class we used
Did he
it.
sign it or anything or no?
No,
No. That's
no. I
awesome
haven't
though.
had
Have
a
you ever
t-shirt that they
reached
signed.
back out?
I haven't. I
Oh,
haven't because it was so long ago.
so
It's, so
that's
many people,
awesome. Doesn't
but
matter. Send a picture.
it made a difference to me.
So tell
And
me about that
so,
grit.
I think
Where'd that come from?
a lot of it just comes from loving what you do and just wanting to take every opportunity and do the very very best you can and digging deep and kind of mind over matter. Like I never was the most physically fit person, the strongest, the fastest, the most flexible, but I was the best that I could be
Oh,
at
you
all
got
of those things.
phenomenal kicks. I see them all the time. Your kicks are like,
Well,
woo.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's definitely different, since the accident, but things
What?
happen.
Tell us about the accident. I know that was a life changing event for you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what happened, and then we'll get into probably the resilience and the grit and the ability that you had to overcome obstacles times 10 and so much more. So just summarize what happened.
Yeah. So
If
this
you
was
feel comfortable. If you
oh,
don't,
of
that's
course.
fine.
Of course. And I'll say there was a time that I really didn't talk about it because I kind of I didn't want people to know about it. Um because I didn't want people to think that I was weak. And there was kind of two sets of people, and it'll make more sense once I explain what happened. People that I didn't want to think I was weak, and people that I didn't want to be worried about me, and then a small segment of people that
In
crossed
between.
both of those.
Yeah.
So what happened was June 11th, 2013. So I'm 34 years old at that time. I'm on a vacation in Canada with Doug, my boyfriend at the time, and we were driving. I was driving, thank goodness. Um, and I had my 2011 Kia Soul, so it's very similar to the car that I drive now on 4
Very small.
very small, but it's a resilient little car.
It is an
So
awesome car.
it is. It's the hamster car, if anyone remembers the ads.
I love it.
Um, yeah, so we're driving. There's this bridge. It connects Prince Edward Island to New Brunswick, Canada.
Yep.
It is 8 miles long over water. It is to this day, it's the longest bridge over iced water in the world. 8 miles long, and I don't know if it still is at this time, but it was one lane this way, one lane that way, a line in between, and Jersey barriers on each side.
Yikes.
So, like, not my favorite to begin with.
No.
So, I'm driving, and the speed limit there was 80 kilometers an hour, which is somewhere around 45. So, we're going, going, going. And then up ahead, we see there's construction, and they're taking turns stopping one side, then stopping the other
Oh, yeah,
side.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So then the other side was stopped, and then it was our turn to stop. So I stop, and thank goodness the rest of the oncoming traffic was still pretty backed up on the other side because I stop. The vehicle behind me is a Mack truck,
Oh,
not an 18 wheeler, the next size down. And it just so happened, just at that time, that person was checking the GPS, looking to see where the next stop was, and just plowed right into the back of my Kia Soul. Um, the details are a little bit foggy. I have to
yeah, you
tell you,
think? You
uh,
were at a complete stop,
I was complete stop. I may have been like kind of a little bit
edging
foot on the
forward.
brake. Yeah, just crawling a little bit.
How
And
fast was the
so about 45,
speed limit?
so 80 kilometers, which
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think is
yeah.
around 45. Yeah, so that truck going that speed hit right into the back of my car. Um, the first thing that I remember was I saw just right in my rearview mirror, I could see just fast movement. And then I heard, sorry, Doug, if you see this, I heard Doug screaming the
The
F
boyfriend
word,
at the
the
time.
F word. And I was like, everything was kind of like in slow motion. I was like, this is how we die. I just really didn't want it to end this way. And it was kind of the one time, you ever have something happen in your life that's like, this particular moment, I have one chance to get this right. And there aren't too many moments like that in your life, but this was one of those, I got one chance to make it right kind of a thing. And by somehow, I don't remember, my head must have hit my seatbelt loosened up because we were not fully braked. My head hit the steering wheel, and somehow I didn't go out immediately. I was able, and I know this is from my martial arts training. I saw I was moving very fast toward the car ahead of me, and I was able to turn into that empty oncoming lane where the other cars hadn't reached us yet.
Oh my God.
Turn into that, and then I was just about to hit the Jersey barrier, and I was able to swerve back
After you got
a-
hit?
after that, and then finally came to a stop. Um, so that was you
Y-
can so at that
Yikes.
time I hit left side of my forehead, hit the steering wheel apparently. I have no memory of the impact, but I have the scar on my head still fits. It's the same shape as my steering wheel
How's that
there.
changed your life?
Um Gosh, it's changed a lot. So in that moment, that was like we're trying to get out of the car. I had the my head was like half a grapefruit sticking out there, and
Were you
um
conscious?
I was. I don't remember going out, but everything was just kind of foggy, and I don't know, kind of,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
somebody was watching out for me and able
Someone up
to,
above,
yep,
right?
exactly. So able to get out of the car and on this bridge, and we ended up we went to this hospital, and of course, if you're not Canadian and you get injured in Canada, they don't at that time they did not do a lot for you. Um, we went to this hospital, signed a paper basically saying that we were not Canadian citizens. I was given a very brief exam, asked for a CT scan because of all of the swelling and the head injury. And I was denied because they said, well, you were able to extricate yourself from the vehicle, so we don't feel it's worth exposing you to this radiation. So
Oh
Um,
my God.
so we were given Tylenol and a phone book to call a rental car place.
What?
And yes, so I found out a couple of days later that I did have a small brain bleed at that time. Um, once we
Yeah.
got back to the States, so my car was totaled, of course. It looked like
Yeah, an
it was
accordion.
smushed. Yeah. And um thankfully for Doug, he just hit his knee on the glove box and he was okay. Um but but in that moment, whoa, that was another kind of turning point because the way I'm so sorry if he sees this, but it's the truth. The way that he reacted when that all was going on in the moment of the accident, I had this moment of clarity. I'm just sitting there on the side of the road going, this he's screaming, "My vacation is ruined. I worked so hard all year for this. And how are we going to get back? All this stuff." And I'm thinking, I have a head injury and you are like on the side of the road just screaming about your vacation being ruined. I don't think that you're the person that I need to be with for the rest of my life,
Mm.
because we were heading toward marriage at that point.
Oh my
And so that
gosh.
was like another big turning point, but it kind of took the back seat for about a year until I found a good clean way to break off. Um, so since that accident, we thank goodness my parents were able at that time to drive up to Canada and get us and bring us home, because there was no way.
Yeah, who
There
could
was no other
drive?
way.
You're not gonna drive. He's
No,
not gonna drive.
no, my car was in a dump somewhere, and we were able to. A couple days later, we were able to get a ride there and get our things out because we weren't able to take everything with us in the ambulance. Um, and so it turned out that I did have a traumatic brain injury, and still do. It's been now almost 13 years, and it's unfortunately it's the kind of thing as a lot of people know with concussions and different brain type injuries, you get a certain level of healing, and sometimes it's just with you for life. So
You get
um,
a certain level of healing, and then what?
and then sometimes you're just kind of stuck where you are. So,
Stuck.
yeah,
So
it's just with you for life,
give us some
whatever's
examples of how you think.
sure.
I mean, this is not just physically affected. This
No,
is
this
emotionally affecting. This
yeah.
is spiritually,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep. And to this day, every day, and like I said, for a long time I didn't want people to know a lot
Right,
of what
right.
was
I get
going
it.
on
I get
because
it.
I was having um I, and I still do, kind of a language based disability where sometimes, if you've heard of aphasia, sometimes it manifests different ways, and I have all three. Awesome. So sometimes when people speak or when you hear words, you can't you hear the sound, but you can't discern it as words.
I get it. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and so a lot of times, so sometimes it's easier just to say, "Oh, I, I can't hear well," which is not true. I have a little bit of dullness on the left side, but if I don't want to go into an explanation, it's just, "Oh, can you repeat that? I can't hear well." And then I've started, once I got more confident in myself with this new life, I have started saying, "Can you say that again slower?" Because that was kind of always the problem, is just the sounds go together. So that, and then reading, so reading, writing, speaking, and hearing, all parts of this aphasia, which is the I would say one of the bigger portions of the disability that I live with today. So in the very beginning, it was very common that I would say, I do have a delay in speech. So I make a really weird first impression. So anyone that meets me for the first time,
No, you don't.
I do, because I have a delay in hearing, a delay in speaking, and being hyper aware of that. A lot of times, I'll meet someone and I'll try to just say something as quickly as I can so that it fits in the timing that you expect. And it ends up sometimes
That's a
being
lot.
something weird and not what I meant to say.
That's a lot of pressure.
Is. It is. And, I can, as you can see, like, I can talk lightly about it now. It was extremely depressing in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I would say about the first 2 years, I just always had this hope, like, okay, I'm healing. I'll get better. I'll get better. And then around the 2 year mark was when I was discharged from my neurologist. And they were like, good luck. This is about where you're going to be at. Um, and like, so some of the things that are, that I still do now, but were a lot worse in the beginning, were like, if I would go to say the name of a color, like I would go to say yellow and I'd say silver. So it would be like the right category, but the wrong thing. And I still do it now, but like when in the beginning, I would do that and I would be like borderline tears. Now I can laugh about it and just like, well, it is what it is. So between the aphasia, also, like I can read even to this day. I have read one book since my injury in entirety, because when I read, I can do a couple of sentences and then it all kind of goes to kind of word soup, alphabet soup. And I think kind of becoming a person with a learning disability and having a lot of similar things to like someone with neurodivergence, um, and having at age 34 is kind of jarring and it's taken some getting used to. But um, so that happens too. Sometimes I hit
Take
the
your
wall.
time. Take your time. No, you're doing
But
great.
you know what? It is what it is, and it's all of the things that I deal with have made me more equipped to deal with other people that have those things. So like having students with autism, students with ADHD and things like that. Like I understand what it feels like to be in in a store and all of a sudden the buzzing of the lights and the number of people around me and the fact that I can feel my shoes on my feet makes me feel like I just want to drop everything and run out.
Really?
And yeah, and so like something like that is a common thing for certain people on the autism spectrum. So being able to identify with those people is a lot of what got me to a point of feeling more comfortable with myself. As I said, I used to really try to hide any of my symptoms, any of my things. Um, I do have focal seizures sometimes, and I didn't even tell my close family about that for years because I didn't want them to worry. Um,
That's a lot to pack in.
yeah,
And like we said in the beginning, it's physical, emotional, spiritual. It could be religion. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know, but it affects every
absolutely.
single thing and emotion about you. And that, I mean, to be where you are today, you know, working and running a business and being an entrepreneur is a huge testament to all of those things. And you correct me if I'm wrong. The things, when I keep going back to is when you're saying you were doing the squats in the middle of July and your Olympic training and
Right.
then driving back and going to class and pushing and doing that and it sounds like those same qualities, skill sets, for lack of a better word, have really helped you, assisted you to manage this.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've had strong role models to look at, and obviously, we didn't talk about it, but my instructor, Master Russell, she 1999, she was first diagnosed with breast cancer, and so for a good chunk of time after she was having surgery and treatments, I was with one other person. We were running the school at that time, and then so seeing her kind of always bouncing back and the resilience that she had, and also like I have my grandmother on my mother's side had a stroke when she was in her 30s. So growing up, seeing her also as a role model, someone that really went through something huge
So
and
you've
was able
not only
to
had
come back.
like the positive
Yeah.
influence of your parents, but
Hmm.
you've also seen a lot of close. I mean, you're very close with your family, but close family members and or martial arts family members really go through some tough times and suffer. What do you do now?
What do
We
I?
we got about 10 minutes left.
Is that it?
Yeah, see, I
Oh
told you.
no, it's going by fast.
What do you do now? I mean, I'm blown away at this. I know you've told me about the brain injury and how
Yeah.
it happened, but to the extent and the effect and how long it's been and it's going to
Yeah.
probably resonate with you for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. But again, you've done tremendous things. So, what are you doing now?
What am I doing now? So, um,
Your passion for the arts is there. You're running.
100%. Yep. So I'm running the Tiger Institute. I'm teaching 4 days a week, and I'm working at the animal hospital 4 days a week.
Oh,
So it makes for it makes for
a
a
busy
busy,
day,
busy life,
night, weekend life.
very busy life. But you know what? It's things that I love, and technically this working as a vet tech, vet nurse, it is kind of a 9 to 5 job, but it's different because every day I'm doing something different.
You love it.
I love it, and I'm not spending time sitting down in a cubicle. I'm not doing the same thing ever.
How long you been there?
So I've been there 21 years. So I've built some relationships with clients. Even like my studio is right next to a pet grooming shop, and
Where is
just
your studio? It's on,
it's on 375 Central Street in Saugus,
and it's called Tiger
Tiger
Institute.
Institute. Yep.
Got it. And
And
this is the school that you took over
this is
from
the
your
school. Yes. So when my instructor
instructor.
passed in 2008, the night before she passed, actually, we had talked kind of over the years a little bit about that I would like to have my own school. I always thought it would be alongside. She would be running Tiger Institute, and I'd have like Tiger Institute 2 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because I expected she would be teaching it, into her 80s and then retire to St. John and all of that. And it was very because she had done so well when she had the first, battle with breast cancer, it returned about 7 years later, maybe 7, 8 years later. And then she had metastasis to her lungs, to her brain. She went
Okay.
blind and kind of, so the
Ooh.
night before she passed, we were in the hospital and we just never had gotten to that point about talking business, teaching business, anything about running a business or taking over this one. Um, and so the night before she passed, we were in the hospital, and I was saying my goodbyes, and her husband and her daughter were there, and they kind of were conversing with each other as I was there, and they said, "Well, so Amy will take over the school," and so that was kind of it was like
Aha
I
moment.
wanted to, and I was the most obvious choice at that time. I was
Couldn't
the
say no.
Yep, I was a 3rd degree at that time, and I was the only one in the school, so I was the highest ranking, and I always had kept jobs that made it possible for me to train. So, schedule-wise, I could just jump right into that position. Um, that was hard, though, because we were in the same place, but after people were so, so attached to Sub and Russell that after she passed, a lot of people couldn't come back. They just emotionally couldn't do it. We had about
Oh,
6 students.
100%. No, no, no. I get
We
that.
went from
You
very
get that
big.
now. You get that now.
Yep, very big down to
So,
6 students, and
yeah,
it's been.
but let's go back a little bit. You oh, I'm really, really proud of you.
Thanks.
To be able to overcome these obstacles from your injury or injuries, and to be able to, and what keeps on coming out, I'm hearing, is I love this. Like, so you love animals and you obviously love the martial arts. They're passionate. Do you see either one as jobs? I
Yes and
mean, in a
no.
way, you got
Yeah,
to do this and pay bills
yeah,
and
of
all that,
course, you have
and you're obligated,
responsibilities and all of
but
that, but
it's a passion, right?
it is. It is, and it's, in both of these, I'm doing everything from cleaning the floor to the very complicated stuff, and I feel like it's an honor to be able to do that, right? Like,
You're very humble. You are
and
very humble.
in the animal job, like I could be running anesthesia. I'm doing something that's very high level, and then I'm cleaning up poop in the waiting room. So it's, you have to be a certain kind of a person, and you have to be able to compartmentalize because sometimes, you'll have something really, really tragic going on, and then you have to just like cut and move to the next scene, which is, a healthy puppy comes in for his exam. We just euthanized somebody's 18-year-old cat that was, their childhood pet. And you have to be able to kind of pause and then just kind of compartmentalize and like feel those feelings later. You have to be there for these people, and it's the same in teaching. You walk in the door and you have to be on. You have to be on for
You have
those
to
students.
always be on. Oh my
Yep, you have to be
gosh.
on for the students, for the parents, whether it's 95 degrees out, whether you just, ran late and didn't get
Whether
to have
you're
your
sick,
coffee,
not
whether you're
feeling
sick,
well, had an argument,
whether
whatever,
there's a global pandemic, you have to
you have to put the
you have
smile
to exactly,
on.
you have to pivot no matter what it
Pivot.
is, right? Pivot is such a big thing. It's been my whole life, right? Going every time something wasn't working, kind of going to something that worked better. And I think that really prepared me between that and having to make a lot of adaptations with my brain injury. I read the last book I ever read was called I'll Carry the Fork by Kara Swanson. And it was about like kind of how to adapt to like, okay, I'm in this completely new life. I'm a completely different person for certain purposes. And how am I going to adapt to these things? And it was just like a really kind of a relatable thing for me. Like I'll put something in the microwave, I'll start it, I'll forget about it, and then find it days later, like it never existed. And this book was just all different things. And I'll Carry the Fork was about this exact thing where this lady would do the same thing. And she said, you know what, I'm going to keep this fork in my hand so that at some point I'm going to realize I'm carrying a fork. What is this about? And it will bring me back to, oh, I
Ah,
was making food.
I see.
Um,
I see.
and so that's kind of the main strategy, but there's all these other strategies within this book that were just like, okay, if this thing is not working for you, here are all of these different ways that you can adapt. And over time, I was able to kind of work that into my life with all of the challenges that I face. I still do on a daily basis all the time.
And we do that in the martial
And
arts
yeah,
every day,
that's
whether
what
we're
we do.
training or whether we're teaching, right?
Right?
Because if a technique or movement doesn't work,
Right.
we have to adapt,
Right.
change, modify, make it your own, do what you
Yep.
have to do.
Yep.
But a lot of people in life, which you didn't do, is when something doesn't work, that's it. I'm done.
Right.
I quit. I'm not doing that. This is
Right.
stupid. Blah, blah, blah. Back to, what we
Right.
talked
Right. You
about at
can
the beginning
stop
on the show.
or you can just pause and redirect.
And same thing
And
like you said about the pandemic. All right.
yeah.
So as we close out, and we got to have you back on the show because we just scratched the surface here of um I'm more intrigued, and I know the people that are listening are going to be really blown away that thinking that, hey, if Amy can do that after that, I can do anything. So if you were to give some advice or some bullet points of things you mentioned about pivoting, we talked about pivoting and modifying, um, to be successful in anything, right? It doesn't have to be a career. It doesn't have to be, it could be a relationship. It could be life in general. It could be the way that you feel about yourself. What are some tools, takeaways that you feel are the most important things to enable anybody, people from all ages and walks of life, to be successful, no, whatever success means.
Yeah.
Give us some bullet
I
points.
would say, and this is something that I recently had a conversation with one of my students about. He was getting ready to go off to college, and it was like, "Oh, did I pick the right school? Am I doing the right thing?" Like you're almost never really stuck, right? No, you make a decision, and yeah, it's a big deal to change colleges, to change careers, to move, to get out of a relationship. Um, but most of the time, you can do it, and why waste time doing something that's not working for you? And that's a thing that, I feel like throughout my life that has helped me extremely, extremely well. Um, and the other thing I think that has helped me was kind of dealing with this brain injury when I got to about year 6. I kind of got through the mourning phase and got to the acceptance phase and said, "You know what? I can use my experience to help people just like I do in the martial arts, just like I do as a vet nurse. I can use this experience to help people who might be going through the same things that I am, and that it doesn't make me less. It makes me different than I was before. It doesn't make me necessarily less in some ways, but
No, I really think, it's about giving back, creating a legacy, and that
it
can empower
is.
you just as it empowers me when you teach little kids and you do
Yeah,
it. You got to give
yeah,
back to the next generation. And you've got a huge skill set to share and no ego, and you're very humble.
well,
And I
thank
think
you.
you make a difference in society, in every avenue that you touch people's lives, so much. So it was an honor to have you on the show. I hope you will come back and share more because this is a lot of knowledge that you can share with other people to help them be the best version of themselves. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I hope you enjoyed.
Thanks.
Thanks.